everybody, your boy Manny here once again. Welcome back to another WNBA lineup advice video here at DFS Zone. And before I get started, like always, man, I appreciate you guys drop a like on the video. And if you have not, as of yet, subscribe to the channel, please do so down below. And do not forget to put on your post notifications. This way you do not miss any of my new uploads. With that all being said, it is Tuesday, August the 14th, 2018. We have a 3-game slate in the WNBA. We have Dallas at Connecticut, Chicago at Minnesota, New York at LA. Not the prettiest slate by any means today. I mean, pretty ugly possible games here. Other than maybe the first game, Dallas and Connecticut could be competitive if Liz Cambage is in the lineup, which right now at this moment we do not know. But the Chicago-Minnesota game could get a little ugly if Chicago don't come out and play. And then, of course, the New York-LA game could be pretty ugly as well. So we will see what we can do as far as getting the best possible lineups and the best possible advice over to you guys. And, of course, later on today we will have the live show. We'll be back. I hope I'm going to drop my resolution on my end over here, and hopefully that will help. I'm going to do a test drive probably right after I do this video just to make sure everything's running okay, and if it is, then the live show will be on later on today, 6 o'clock like usual, an hour before lock, and we'll go on for about 40 to 45 minutes like usual. All right, guys, so I hope to hear and see you guys later on for the live show. All right, implied totals. We got Dallas at Connecticut. We have 176.5 with Connecticut favorite at home by 11. And that's a lot of points. By 11. Connecticut comes in. They're the 4th seed. Okay, they're 18-13. They're 10-4 at home. Very good home team. And they're 4-1 over the course of the last 5 games. Dallas is coming in. They're the 8th seed. They're pretty much like, they need a win, and they need to win several games here to finish out the season to make the playoffs. They are on the brink of possibly being eliminated. Dallas is 8th, 14-17. They have lost 8 straight games, and of course they are not that good at home. On the road. They are 5-10 on the road coming into this matchup. These teams have played each other twice, and Connecticut has won both games, so they are 2-0 versus Dallas. This is the final game, obviously, between these two teams. Coming in also, as you can see, I'm going to go right over to the team stats. Dallas and Connecticut, as you can see, is the top line here. They're pretty balanced out as far as points, but that obviously is going to change if there's no Liz Cambage. Over the course of the last 2 games, Dallas has actually been averaging about 81. They put up 80 and 82 respectively over the last 2 games. Field goal percentage is at 44%. Obviously, Connecticut, as you can see, the green means that they are better at 46 points. So that's pretty much 2% better shooting from the floor. Over here, this really stands out at me. 36% shooting from 3, while Dallas is at 30.6%. And then when I did some research, obviously, I will touch on that. Dallas gives up 35% to 3-point shooters during the course of the season. So obviously we got some players we could target there. Free throw shooting, pretty much an advantage there for Dallas at the moment. Rebounding, pretty balanced here. Again, the rebounding is pretty balanced here on paper, but if there's no Liz Cambage, there's definitely an advantage for Connecticut. So that's hands down. If she's in the game, then it's a totally different story. Then I would say that they're pretty balanced up front as far as rebounding is concerned. Assist totals here, Connecticut a little bit better there. Steals pretty much around 7 steals per game, so I got that pretty much even. Dallas has a better defense as far as blocking shots, but then again, that also is a contribution to Liz Cambage as well. If she's not in the court, obviously that's going to definitely diminish. And then tied, these are turnover ratio. Connecticut is a little bit better turning over the ball, maybe 1 less turnover a game than Dallas. All right, go back over here. Dallas at Connecticut guards. Before I go on with that, I'm going to give you the last 3 games. I've been giving you the last 4 or 5 games of what these teams have done up front or in the backcourt, and pretty much I think that's very important that we always have that idea, at least what's going on with these teams as well as players during the course of the last 3 or 4 games before they have actually have a matchup. So the last 3 games, Dallas has been giving up 53.5 points per game from an average of 48. So they've been definitely struggling up front, and obviously without Liz Cambage, they're going to struggle a little bit more. They've been giving up 35.7 points per game to guards, and that's has increased from their average of 34. Connecticut's coming in, and they've been pretty solid up front in the backcourt. During the course of the last 3 games, they've given up only 46.4 points per game to the front court, and the backcourt 34.6 points per game. That is still a little bit high from what their average is, which is 29.5. So they've been giving up nearly almost 5 more points up front, in the backcourt. But they have definitely improved in the front court by at least 4 points. All right. So we got here Skylar Diggins-Smith. Is she in play? Absolutely, guys. She is in play, no matter if Liz Cambage is playing or not. And if she's not playing, obviously, it's even a more uptick on Diggins-Smith to actually be the main leader, to be the one player that can definitely keep this game close. I still think it's just a lot to handle here. 8-game losing streak. If you don't have Liz Cambage and you got to really depend on Diggins-Smith, it's not going to be enough against Connecticut, at least in my opinion. So I am fading Diggins-Smith, but again, she is someone you can consider 7,700. She is priced okay. Jasmine Thomas and Courtney Williams, I've been telling you guys off and on over the course of their last 3 or 4 games. I've been on them, and what I've done is I basically have been choosing who I think has the best possible opportunity to do well. Both of these girls have done well against Dallas this year. In the 2 games, they averaged 33 and 30 apiece fantasy points on average during the course of the 2 games. So you can look that up on your own as well. But Jasmine Thomas has been averaging 33 in 2 games, and Courtney Williams in 2 games 30. So take your pick. You know, who I like better, I kind of lean towards Courtney Williams again, even though Jasmine Thomas has done well and has 3 more point average over Courtney in this matchup against Dallas. But if there is a Liz Cambage playing, Courtney Williams will probably be more suitable as the choice here. Not only she could shoot the 3 and so on and so forth, but she is a pretty decent rebounder. And they need the rebounding up front. And I can also see her still favoring, even without Liz Cambage, being one of those that wants to really get out there and get rebounds and get second chance opportunities for their teams offensively and defensively. So I see Courtney Williams possibly as the better play, $100 cheaper. Another thing I also like about this matchup is like I said before, over here, this 36% shooting from 3, they're pretty much one of the top 3 in the slate, other than Chicago and LA being at 35.5 here. So you want to see if you can target those defenses of those of the opponent that they're playing. And Dallas has been giving up 35% to their opponents as far as 3 points. So they have difficulty all year long in defending the 3. So Jasmine Thomas and Courtney Williams being 2 of the 3-point shooters, on top of having also Strickland and Jonquel Jones. So you got 4 girls there that shoot the rock from 3 fairly well against a team that gives up 35% shooting, and all 4 of these girls that I mentioned are shooting 32% or better. 32% or better from 3. So I like my chances with that. So that's another reason why. Now, granted, I've been telling you guys over the last few games, Thomas and Williams both stacking them together would not be a bad idea, but even on a 2 or 3 game slate, it's going to be tough when you have $1,400 you got to cover on these 2 girls. So I always recommend, just like I do with the Chicago girls, you got to choose the one that you think is going to be the best possible play. So I think here Courtney Williams is probably the best play today, but you would not be at all disappointed with Jasmine Thomas. I think either or will work out perfectly for you guys. All right. I'm fading Miss Gray. I'm not really feeling any of the Dallas backcourt now. At 5,600, she's not too bad. She actually had a very good game the last game out. Finally, she played 40 minutes and she had to. Obviously, no Liz Cambage, but she was shooting the ball well. She was rebounding. She was doing a number of things that kept her on the floor, and she put up 31 fantasy points. Will she be able to repeat that? I would say it's pretty tough that she'll be able to repeat that again today. Again, tough matchup. Even and if Liz Cambage comes back, she's not going to get that many minutes on the floor. All right, so that's another thing. She got those points because she did play a massive amount of minutes. So take that into consideration. Again, okay, so I'm fading Gray. I'm pretty much on the Connecticut girls in the backcourt. I think the matchup is better for them. I also like Shakina Strickland here. Obviously, like I mentioned, the 3-point shooting, she's one of the top dogs. All right, she takes about 3 to 4 threes a game, so that definitely is something to consider. 4,200. Obviously, Shakina Strickland in play in this matchup. I'm not on Clarendon but Clarendon could be a little sneaky play. I just prefer Strickland more, $100 more. We know she gets some time on the floor. We know she takes some threes. And if she nails down a couple of threes, and she already has buried Dallas, as remember, I've said this before, she did beat up on Dallas with that massive career game of shooting from three several games back where she put up 44 fantasy points. So would she repeat that again? Probably not. But if she gets hot and they keep feeding her the ball, chances are she could light up the scoreboard for a good 20 to 25, maybe even 30 fantasy points. Anything is possible. I'm not on anybody else down here. None of these girls, Hill, Laney. Yeah, I'm pretty much not on anybody there. At forward, obviously Liz Cambage, if she's playing, she's definitely, obviously, someone you should consider. She's the only one that I really like from Dallas. I told you this. I kind of cut off my tides with choosing Johnson, Thornton. Maybe the only one, like I say, every time I say Liz Cambage, I always say Azurá Stevens because I like the rookie. She is a little inconsistent, but she has those good moments, and I think she has potential to have good upside. So other than her, that's about it. So Liz Cambage, if she's in this game, she's definitely someone to consider. If she's not, then you're going to have to target, if you're looking for someone in Dallas, then I would say Miss Stevens, okay? Thornton gets massive minutes, but she doesn't put up enough points. When we get to the Connecticut girls, obviously Alyssa Thomas and Shanae Ogwumike are both in play. Either one of these will do fine. I think I will probably lean more towards Miss Thomas. She's at 33, 26, 33 against Dallas. The last time, 33 minutes, she put up a 42 spot, and then the previous time before that, 27 and 26. So both times over 1 fantasy point per minute. And if you calculate the averages, it's probably about maybe 36, 37. And for this price here, you need about 37, 38. So very close to value, And then you always, like I said, if a person's not reaching value, guys, ladies and gentlemen, always focus on that fantasy points per minute and see if she's averaging at least that or better over the course of the last 4 or 5 games or the last, 6 games. I mean, maybe max. And then I'll give you at least a good gauge if she is worth the price or not. And then, of course, you have to look at the matchup. So the matchup is pretty good without Liz Cambage, so I like Alyssa Thomas there. And Shanae, of course, is in play as well, $400 cheaper. Take your pick. She's been really solid here, 35 and 33, over 1 fantasy point per minute. She's been averaging more than 1 fantasy point per minute, as you can see here, several times over the last 6 or 7 games. So I'm not too concerned about this. I would be more concerned about the time on the floor and if she's actually getting fantasy points, and she's doing that. So 7,400, not too bad at all. I'm willing to take Shanae Ogwumike there. I think it's a pretty good matchup, especially if there is no Liz Cambage. I am not on Johnson. Love Jonquel Jones. She's been more than 1.1 fantasy point per minute over the course of 7-8 games or so. I've been telling you guys that, so I'm sure you already know. And as you can see, 17-28, 16-30, 16 minutes 26, 21-33. You can't go wrong with that. The only thing you say to yourself is, why isn't she playing more minutes? If she plays more minutes, she'll give us more fantasy points, coach. But again, right now Connecticut is playing well. They have a system in place. They have their rotation in place. And she gets anywhere between 16 to 20 minutes, and that's sufficient for them to still win ball games. You can't complain. So 6,800, a little tough price for the little minimal amount of minutes, but she is giving you the fantasy points, and she's capable of breaking that in minimal amount of time on the floor. That is fantastic. So Jonquel Jones, great. And not only that, good shooter, and she could shoot the 3, and she definitely rebounds as well. So you get a lot of little bonuses, let's say, for Jonquel Jones here, especially in this matchup. So JJ is definitely in play for me. Other than Cambage, obviously Azurá Stevens will be the only person that I would consider for Dallas. And that's pretty much it in this whole lineup. I mean, she's capable of getting you 35 or better. At 6,400, she's averaging 21, and she's been doing more than 21 in several games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 out of the last 7 games or 8 games. She's been above average. And she's been pushing 32 plus in 2 out of the last 3. So pretty good. And then not only that, matchup against Connecticut, almost 33 here in 25 minutes. And then over here, only 14 minutes and 4.4. Again, this is all the bad coaching. This girl should be on the floor seeing at least 20 to 25 minutes every single game, not getting 14. So again, this was, thank goodness the coach is gone. That's the end of that. All right, so that's pretty much it. If anybody here low value play, maybe Teresa Plaisance At 4,200, is probably the only one. Morgan Tuck is capable of getting some minutes, but I'm fading on her today. I tried her. I had her in 1 or 2 lineups, I think, a couple of days ago in the last matchup, and I was not happy at all with the results. So, but Plaisance is getting some minutes, especially if there's no Liz Cambage. She could be the low value play there in this matchup. Chicago, Minnesota. We got Chicago. Implied totals 163. Obviously, this is the game that is going to probably be. We're going to find out if it's going to be a pace game or it's going to be a game that Minnesota is going to be able to slow down. But 163 implied total points with Minnesota favored at home by 10. Chicago comes in there, the 10th seed, 11-20. They're 4-11 on the road, and Minnesota is 7th in the standings, 17-14. They're 8-7 at home, which is not a great record. And they been solid over the last 3-2 over the last 5 games. They both have played each other 2 times, and both teams have won 1 game apiece. And over the course of the last 3 games, Chicago has been coughing up 53 points per game to the forwards and centers from an average of 53, and 35.6 points per game to guards, which is an additional 1 more point per game than their average. Minnesota's coming in. They've been giving up 52.4 fantasy points per game to forwards and centers with an average of 41.8. So they've been coughing up almost 11 more points up front over the course of the last 3 or 4 games, which has really been a struggle for them up front. All right, and they've been really good in defending the guards, surprisingly. Almost 29.4 points per game from an average of 32.7. All right, when we go over here to the team stats, as you can see, they're the second group of teams here. Chicago is averaging 82 points to 78, so you know they want to pace up the game. They're a pace team. They want to get up and down the floor. They want to get up on transition. They want to try to get some steals and keep things moving, especially with those fast, athletic players. And that's going to be the key for Chicago today. If they cannot do that, Minnesota definitely makes this into a half-court game and slows down this pace a little bit here and defends well against Chicago, especially up front, getting rebounds, which is obviously their advantage going into today. They will win the game, and Chicago will make this a game if they can pace this game up. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. So 82 points to 78. They're pretty balanced on field goal percentage at 44% apiece. 3-point shooting, both teams shoot the 3 fairly well, surprisingly, Chicago and Connecticut. And of course, I put here notations because I think this is an area that we can target. So obviously, Chicago is giving up 35% to their opponent's threes, and Minnesota is 34%. And they're battling one of the top 3-point shooting teams in the league in Vandersloot and Quigley. You got Dolson, who can shoot the 3. You got several people in Chicago that shoot the 3, but those are the key 3 people. And then we move on. If I can get this window closed. We got field goal percentage, almost 80% for Chicago over Minnesota. Up here, rebounding, obviously Minnesota again. This is an area, I just put here advantage. We know the advantage is up front. It's going to be more. And, of course, Ms. Fowles, they both get the most rebounds on the team, hands down. There's no Rebecca Brunson. She was the third, option there. And, unfortunately, she's not playing with her injury. Assist totals, not too bad, 20 and 19 apiece. They definitely get the players involved. And then steals here, pretty much balanced also, nearly 7 steals a game each. And blocks, Chicago has an advantage there, 4-3. As we know, Minnesota, they have 2 big girls, but they're not into blocking and really defending a lot of shots. So that's one of the reasons why they are not top shot blockers. Turnover ratio, pretty much the highest among the teams in the slate, as you can see, at 15 and 14 apiece. And we could expect that with Chicago because of their wanting to pace up the game. Really surprised Minnesota coughs up 14, but that's all due to Sylvia Fowles. As we all know, when she is double teamed and she is pressed, she makes a lot of careless mistakes. So that's an area where Chicago is going to have to, definitely target today as part of their strategy in defending and trying to pull out this game here today. Chicago and Minnesota. So again, I gave you the implies. So let's look at the matchups as far as players. We got Courtney Vandersloot obviously in play. Same thing, no different with Connecticut. I think Chicago is in a good spot here with Minnesota. I don't think Minnesota has a lot of good defense, even though, again, benefit of the doubt, Minnesota, like I told you just a few moments ago, has been one of the better teams, especially in this slate, is one of the teams that has coughed up the least amount of points to guards. They're the second best in this slate other than Los Angeles at 29.4 points per game. But when you start facing these girls 2, 3, 4 times a year, it can get a little difficult handling Vandersloot and Quigley. But again, if Vandersloot and Quigley, and of course up front, we know that Diamond DeShields and Gabby Williams are in this category as well here at FanDuel. But when we choose these girls, I've said it again, and I'm going to say it one more time just in case you're new here to the channel. These girls play forward. They've been playing the 3 and 4 spot for Chicago as of late, trying to really make it a more of a paced-up game, more athletic type of players on the court, and that's what they're going to need to do against Minnesota here. They're a little bit older team, and not only that, not as athletic. And that's what they need to do. If Minnesota makes this game, like I said before, a half-court game and slows down the pace, it's going to be difficult for Chicago. But if Chicago can get out on transition, defend, get some steals, get those fast breaks, this team is very explosive with speed, with Vandersloot, with DeShields, with Quigley and Williams. And on top of that, you got Copper. These girls get up and down the floor, and they all can shoot fairly well when they have the spacing. So that's going to be key for Chicago. Again, we've seen it over and over again. Chicago puts up good games against good opposition. I would not be at all surprised here with Minnesota favored by 10 at home that they could have a letdown here against Chicago. So we'll see what happens. But you're thinking Vandersloot and you're thinking Quigley. Either one of the two, you cannot go wrong. You can't pair both. Again, it's no different than the Connecticut's backcourt. You can't take them both with these prices here on FanDuel. So you either decide, hey, I'm going to go with one stud. Which one is going to be the one? Obviously, Courtney Vandersloot has the best upside. So you may want to go Vandersloot or not. You want to pay down and you want to take her teammate $1,200 cheaper. You can get Allie Quigley, who's a great three-point shooter. They're facing a team that they have that advantage of, that they can possibly get some threes out because Minnesota has given up 34% to three-point shooters. So there's definitely an opportunity for both teams to attack each other, but there's more weapons, obviously, in the Chicago team with Vandersloot, Quigley, Dolson, even DeShields shoots fairly decent. Copper has a 30% shooting from three. There's a couple of girls here that can definitely get it done. All right. So Vandersloot in play, DeShields in play, Quigley in play. Take one of the girls. Any one of the three, I think you'll be okay. I like Diamond DeShields like always because she's playing up in the 3 spot, and so as well as Gabby. And when you look at the 3 spot for Connecticut, you're looking at Zaldazzini or Larkins or something like that. And I still like that matchup better, a little more athletic. I love athletic players in any sport more so than someone who is just big and can probably, in this case, not only defend but rebound. We want Diamond DeShields to be able to rebound and go up and down the court and make this a pace game. So Diamond DeShields and Courtney Vandersloot and Allie Quigley all good to go. Simone Augustus, I never really am on so much on Simone Augustus, but she could be someone you can consider. She's at 5,200. You need about 25, 26. I don't think she can get you that. As you can see, her average is 17, and I don't think she gets to the 25, 30 pretty much range often enough. As you can see here, I don't see that enough for me to, say, hey, you know what, I think you should pencil in. I think there's some other guards in some other areas that you can definitely get value from. Gabby Williams in play as well, like I mentioned here, the paced up game, definitely a good situation for her if they can keep the pace up. Definitely like her. Yeah, I called it on her the last time, and she had a fairly good game. Lindsay Whalen, obviously she announced her retirement, so you never know. They may give her, sending off, more minutes. You never know. She might get some floor time. She has not been playing, pretty much just taking notes on the bench, getting ready to go and just be a full-time college coach. But Lindsay Whalen may get some time here, so consider that. Remember, all this is all right now me just taking a look at it and looking at a few stats. I will look into it a little bit deeper, and if everything turns out the way it is, I will have an update, obviously, on the live show later. Danielle Robinson, big loss for them as far as the pace game because she is a good defender. Unfortunately, she's out. So Kalia Cooper, lower price range here. Definitely Cooper in play and Wright. Tanisha Wright obviously is going to get some minutes, obviously, with no Danielle Robinson. I don't think she's as quick. She's an older player. She's not as quick as Copper, but if she can get open, she is capable of nailing down some threes. Okay, so she's capable of shooting the ball well. I think these two are the best value plays. I would definitely go with the athletic Copper. We could probably even go with both of these two, but remember, both of these two are probably going to be 30% or better owned as far as low value plays. Maybe Ms. Wright would be even more highly owned than Copper, but I can see those girls definitely in the 30% range or better. In the forward position, obviously Sylvia Fowles is in play. Maya Moore in play. I'm not on Cheyenne Parker. She's good for 1 fantasy point per minute, but a matchup like this, 6,300, and I can get fantasy. I can definitely get more out of Jonquel Jones, who is only a few $100s more expensive. So Cheyenne Parker could be a possible sneaky play, but I'm not on her. Maya Moore and Sylvia Fowles definitely in play. I definitely like Maya Moore more simply because, and I've said this before, she takes more shots. Okay, she can hit the three. She rebounds. She can do a number of other things other than fouls. And on top of that, Sylvia Fowles, most importantly, is that she can get into foul trouble. If Chicago gets under her skin, double team her, trap her, she starts turning over the balls and she starts fouling people. It could be ugly. So she's looked great in the last couple of games. That's where she needs to be. I'm not saying she cannot be taken. I just think here that I'd rather go with Maya Moore, who brings a little bit more to the table. More importantly, she plays probably the same amount of minutes or better, but more importantly, she takes 15 to 16 shots on average per game. And I like shots and I like minutes, because if you have some minutes on the phone, you can take a number of shots, and you're one of the integral offensive weapons on a team. Chances are you're going to put up a lot of fantasy points. And that's what she had. The last game, she had 5 steals. That's big considering that she didn't shoot as well. She only scored 12 points. But she did the other things, which is nice to see. So, again, Maya Moore, I definitely like her. I think she's in a good spot here. Coming down here a little lower, Dolson could be a nice play here. Still 5,600. That is cheap, man. Now, she hasn't had good games against Minnesota. As you can see, 4.5 here in 24 minutes and 1.2 here in 29 minutes. But I'm not going to base it on that. I'm going to base it on how she's been playing as of late. And she's done well. Other than that dud game against Minnesota, 20, 33, and 29 here. The last 2 games, 29 and 33 respectively against Connecticut, which is not too bad, against Alyssa Thomas and Shanae Agumake. I think Miss Dolson is not too bad here. At this price, she's going to at least give you value. 5,600, you only need about 27, and she's doing better than that over the course of 1, 2, I would say 3, 4 out of the last maybe 8 games. So Dolson's in that she can shoot the 3 fairly well. She's not one of these banging type of center forwards. She's not under the boards getting tons of rebounds and all that. She, like I've said before, she likes to be a little spaced out on the floor, take her shots. She's capable of hitting threes if she's wide open. She's not afraid to take the 3, and she's knocking them down at about a 33% clip or better. So definitely watch out for Stephanie Dolson. On the lower half here, the only one that I would consider here is Zaldenzini, obviously from Minnesota because of Brunson being out. I'm not on Larkins. I'm not on Fan Bailey. I had enough of those girls already. Elena Coates, I've been telling you guys, I've liked her several times, a few times over the last few games that she's played. She's someone to consider here. 3,500, you cannot go wrong with Elena Coates, and especially in a matchup against Minnesota where they got a couple of big girls up front, and they're going to need someone who can rebound and battle and all that. So I like her here as well. She only played 9 minutes the last time. I don't think she's going to play 9 minutes again today. 2 games against Connecticut up front, she did put up 24 and 12 and 16 and 19 minutes, and which is what she brings to the table, the rebounding, and that's what Chicago. Let's get it right, coach. I mean, that Chicago coach, she looks pretty nice, but hey, you got to get it together, man. Elena Coates should definitely get some more minutes up front, especially to make it more difficult on Miss Fowles here, who is foul prone. All right. Other than that, I'm not on anybody else there, man. That's pretty much it. Let's go to New York, LA. New York, LA implied totals 157. It is considered the pace down game here, if you will. I mean, both of these teams do not like to pace up the game. They definitely love the half court set and playing in that kind of format. So we have 157 implied totals with Los Angeles favored by 14.5. At least as of right now. I will have latest lines later if any of these lines change. LA's coming in. They're the 5th seed, 18 and 13, and they're 10 and 6 at home. Okay, over the course of the last 5 games, they are 4 and 1. New York is coming in 11th in the standings. They're 7 and 23, obviously eliminated from the playoffs, playing for nothing other than pride. And they're 4-11 on the road, not a good road team. All right, over the course of the last few games, they are 0 and 5. So I mean, they have not been. They're also in a big major losing streak. All right. So what we have here, we go over to the team stats. Obviously, New York. I got this just a little bit of an advantage on points. So these teams, again, as you can see, they're the lowest scoring, as far as two teams facing each other, they're the lowest scoring teams, 79 and 78 respectively. So they're kind of even in that aspect. A little slight edge to Los Angeles. Over here, field goal percentage, Los Angeles definitely a better field goal shooting team and a better three-point shooting team. And I put that here, and right away I said to myself, I got to look at this. And this goes the same for field goal as well as three-point shooting. You got Williams, Gray, Carson, and Parker. Those are the top three-point shooters for LA, facing a team that gives up 35% three-point shots to their opponent. So definitely having a tough time defending threes, New York, and I expect that to continue today with Gray and Carson, Williams and Parker. I like them there up front as well. Then we have here free throw shooting. Obviously, LA is a little bit better. Rebounding, New York better than LA. LA has always been down. They don't get a lot of rebounds. They're more of these efficient. This is why their field goal percentage is high, is because when they take their shots, they usually bury them, and they don't need to rebound as much. But also it's because Candace Parker is a kind of player that's in and out all over the floor. She is not a post-up player. She's not a player that's going to go up there and just battle away and do all that physical stuff. And neither is Nneka Ogwumike. So this is the reason why they're at 31 pretty much almost the whole year. All right, assists. New York definitely a little bit better in assists by one, just slightly better. And then, of course, steals. I definitely target this area as well because New York gives up 7 to 8 steals a game. You know, they put up about almost close to 7 steals themselves, but they give up 7 or 8 to their opponents. And LA is definitely a team that's one of the better teams in steals, and that goes. And when you're looking at that, it brings us to Ogwumike as part of one of those girls. Gray, that's in 2 categories now with threes and field goal percentage shooting, and now steals. She'll be a good target. Elena Beard, obviously we all know she's a great defender. I've said that here as well several times. And Parker, who could do it almost all. These girls at least are averaging 1 to 1.5 steals a game. So you can always look back at this chart and take a look at it as well. It's good information to have. We go to the game. Obviously, I love Chelsea Gray here. I've said it the last time they played, and I've said it a couple of times over the last few games. I definitely like the way she's been playing. 7,600. I think she's one of my favorite guards here today, other than Courtney Williams, as far as the upper tier guards. Definitely, again, like I just pointed out in the chart, you know, field goal percentage, she is there. Three-point shooting, she is there, and she's capable of defending against some steals. So she's definitely kind of like a lock for me today. Chelsea Gray in this game against New York. The only drawback, obviously, of these games is that they all have potential to be blowouts, so we have to always consider that. But Chelsea Gray, definitely a fine play here. Brittany Boyd, she's one of the ones that likes to just get the pace going. She's really quick. I like Boyd. 6,500 it's just too much for her, man. It's too high, you know. And she, as well as Hartley, are one of the 3. I have them here: Boyd, Hartley, and Tina Charles are the 3 New York Liberty players that commit the most turnovers. You know, so they turn over the ball quite a bit. And so I'm not favoring none of the New York backcourt. If there's anybody you can consider in the New York backcourt, again, I'm going to say it for the 3rd New York game in a row, Kia Nurse. 4,400. You got to definitely consider her in a game where the season's almost over. You're not playing for anything, and you still need to find out if your number 1 pick is someone you're going to definitely have involving your team going into next year as far as the rotation on a regular basis. This girl should be playing. So Kia Nurse is the only one that I would think from New York that I am at least comfortable with at that price. Boyd, Hartley, Rogers, I'm definitely fading all these girls. Not to say that they're not good. They could definitely step up here and come, but the LA is one of the best. LA comes in here giving up only 24.5 points per game over the last 3 games. 2 guards. So it'll be really shocking if New York gets themselves going and a lot of these guards have a masterful game. I doubt it. And if there is anyone, it'll be only one, and maybe it's Kia Nurse, who I might be on. So that's pretty much where I'm at there. So I definitely like Kia Nurse. Essence Carson, because of the three-point shooting and field goal percentage, she could be someone to consider. She hasn't played a whole slew of minutes as of late. Only 18 and 18 over the last 2 games. 17. She's averaging 15. If she's near the 15, she has shown that she can be 15. She met 15 here, met 15 here. Definitely, you know, exceeded 15 here, but that was because she played more minutes. With Elena Beard back, obviously, she's getting less minutes. And the longest Elena Beard is playing well, and the longest Chelsea Gray is shooting the ball well, then they'll only utilize Odyssey Sims a little bit off the bench. But Essence Carson could be someone to consider at 4,900. If not, you can save 200, and you can give a shot to Odyssey Sims. All right. Other than that, I would say if you're not going to go with any one of these two, Chelsea Gray from LA is definitely a lock for me. And I definitely like for value here at guard Kia Nurse. Other than that, come down here. Elena Beard in play for sure. The defense could be a big factor today for her as far as being one of those that can definitely get steals. And we know she's not a big offensive scoring team player, but she's someone that definitely makes the defense better on the team. When she's on there, this team becomes even more tougher defensively. So that's what she brings to the table, that defensive energy, that presence to be very dominant as far as defending players. And she gets those breakaways. She's not afraid to go and take it, to the hole. So she is definitely capable of getting some stuff done. Elena Beard, definitely someone to consider 4,200. Then, of course, you got Rokina Williams. You could definitely go with her as well at 3,700. She's not a bad value play. And basically, that is it. At forward, Candace Parker, obviously always in play. Remember, she's probably one of the top players in this slate today, so she's more than likely going to be highly owned. I've said it before, and I'll let you know. And every time we look at it later on in the game, we start realizing that she's definitely highly owned. I don't think she's going to be like 60, 70% owned, but she could be close to 50% owned today in this matchup. The only drawback is if you decide to go with her, those are the two things that can happen. Either she is going to be highly owned, or you got to worry about the blowout situation where she might not play maximum amount of minutes. So you hope for New York to play a fairly decent game, at least for 3/4, to get as much value out of her if you're going to go with her in your lineup. So those are the two drawbacks: blowout situation, or Candace Parker being obviously highly owned. But it's nothing wrong with having a couple players highly owned. Then we have Tina Charles. Charles is in play. She does, like I said before, commits about 2 turnovers a game, but she is the best offensive weapon New York has. So, I mean, I wouldn't see no reason why anybody would fade her. She's playing really solid. She played with LA the other day. She put up 43. That's after she had a dud game the first time around. I think she put less than 20. Yeah, she did. 16.8. So, I mean, but the averages with the 16 and the 43, now you figure she's at about 23. So, about 20, 21. Between the two games. But I mean, we know she's capable of putting 45, 50 any given night. The matchup is a tough one for her. No doubt about it. Will she get 43 again after what she did the other night? Possibly, but I would not be too high on that. So if you're not on Parker and you're not willing to pay down $300 for Tina Charles, you definitely will want one of the other girls up front, and that is Nneka Ogwumike at 7,600. Nneka Ogwumike is in a fine position here as well, because I can't see who's going to go. I mean, she's going to battle against Tina Charles because she usually plays center. But, I mean, against New York, 35 and 34 minutes, more than 1 fantasy point per minute. We know she's solid, man. She's over 30%, 31 fantasy points per game. She has had those moments, obviously, here 2, 3, 4 games since coming back from that illness. She's only hit 35 once. So that's a little concern there. But again, we look at the matchup. She should do okay against New York. Okay, it's not like she's going up against Washington where you got Sanders and Della Don, or Minnesota where you have Fowles and Maya Moore and so on and so forth. She is going up here against Tina Charles, and we don't know what's the deal with Amanda, Kia Vaughn, all these girls in game time decisions. I believe she's probable, I heard last, but I don't know any news as of yet as far as Kia and Amanda. And that's tough for New York, because New York obviously is, they've been rebounding, and it's a combination of everybody contributing. They're decent as far as rebounding teams simply because of that. It's not just Tina Charles. They got Amanda, Kia, and the girls in the backcourt all get rebounds, so they have a good team nucleus when it comes to that. But here, this is going to be tough for them, man. I just don't like anybody here. If I like anybody down here, you could focus on Stokes and Allen. Allen is someone here at 3,200 you got to take a stab at. And I'm sure she's going to be a little bit more highly owned today after the last 2 games that she's had. She's played really, really well for New York. 24 and 19 over the last 2 games. That's 1 fantasy point per minute for both games. So that's impressive to come off the bench and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to help out in the front end. Now, if there is 2 or more of these girls, if the 2 out of these 3 girls are out, then you definitely got to pencil in either Stokes or Allen if you want to go with one of these girls here as far as value. So as far as a value play in this matchup, yeah, Stokes or Allen would be pretty good. I'll probably be leaning more towards Rebecca Allen. So definitely these girls I'm play again. This is all a first look. I'm gonna look at a little bit more due diligence. I'm gonna do some more due diligence on all the statistical data and come back and try to give you the best possible advice. But right now this looks pretty good as far as what players I've mentioned to you guys today at this moment. But again, live show later on, guys. Man, I hope you like the video. I hope it helps. You know, drop a like on the video. Please share with others, and at the same time, if you have not subscribed to the channel as of yet, please do so. Got a lot of work coming this way. NFL's around the corner. I will have some NFL tips and strategy videos coming out, and I will be discussing. I plan to. I'm not sure as of yet, but I'm more than likely going to do like a couple videos before the NFL starts, maybe one every 2 to 3 days, just breaking down the actual positions in the NFL or what the top players to look for at quarterback, running back, tight end, defenses, offenses, and wide receivers and the whole 9 yards. So slowly but surely I'm working on those things, and those are things that I am looking forward to giving to you guys to get ready for the NFL season. But that's still a couple of days away. So for the time being, let's focus on the WNBA. Again, enjoy the 3-game slate. Let's get these lineups together. I will see you guys later on for the live show, and I will do everything I can to figure out what are the best possible plays for us to be looking at, and we'll take it from there and we'll discuss it. All right, guys? Everybody have a good day. I'll see you guys later.